Good morning, you guys. So we're starting the month of April today, and I'm going to be a little bit of a spoiler alert her. I just flipped through the whole month of April and still no Peter. It's driving me crazy. I want to hear Peter. But we are going to start with Jessica. Act 10, Scene 1. Miss Williams assumed responsibilities as our teacher. She recognized and acknowledged our huge mess, and that our feelings, despite our being just fifth graders, were very real. I respected Miss Williams for her courageous acts, but it didn't change a thing. Mr. Terupt still lay motionless inside the vast whiteness and beeping of that building. Our classroom remained as lifeless as our teacher. We needed Mr. Terupt back. Things happened for a reason. That's what I told Jeffrey. Did I believe that? Sometimes. What were the reasons for my dad leaving us? I haven't figured that out yet. And what are the reasons for Mr. Terupt's predicament? I've decided they're different for everyone, and maybe not there at all for others. I see the reason for Alexia now. Without this accident, I'm not sure she would have made it back as my friend. Without this accident, I bet Danielle would have never made it to Anna's house. But what about someone like Luke or Jeffrey? I don't see any reason for either one of them, and I can't find a reason for me. Luke. The classroom persisted in secreting, unbroken, quietness. I stayed quiet too, even though I had a lot bottled up inside me about Mr. Terupt's brain surgery. Peter knew about it, but he didn't have all of the details. I know he blames himself. You can see it. Ever since the accident, he walks around like a mummy. He should be blaming himself. He threw the snowball. But if it had hit anyone other than Mr. Terupt, I don't think we'd be experiencing a tragedy like this. That's what Peter needs to know. It doesn't make everything all better, but it might help ease his pain. So there's kind of insight to the question I asked you guys yesterday. If Peter knew that Mr. Terupt had a pre-existing condition, so to speak, with all the head concussions from wrestling, and that the snowball otherwise wouldn't have really caused him to go into a coma, it might help him feel better. So it's important that Peter finds that out. I can't tell him, though. No one is talking to him. But that's not why I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to find out why he threw that snowball. Danielle. It was springtime. I sat on the front porch with Grandma after church. She drank her coffee, black, because she's tough, and I sipped some iced tea, unsweetened, because I hope to be tough like her. I love these moments with Grandma. There's nothing like a New England spring, Danielle, she said. You endure the harsh winter, and because of that, you learn how to really appreciate the new season. I knew what she was talking about. The snow had melted and the birds had flown back, singing and praising. Flowers popped up and buds appeared. The animals on the farm acted frisky. Time to rejoice. But I couldn't, and Grandma noticed. I'll bet you in other parts of this country, where there's no real winter, people miss out on spring, Grandma said. That's just a shame. I nodded. This spring was different, though. My teacher still slept, and this weighed on me and sucked the happiness out of everything. I felt like I was still in my winter slumber. Danielle, let's pray. I bowed my head and closed my eyes. I figured Grandma was going to thank our God for the beautiful weather and the gift of spring. That would have been fine, but she took me by surprise. Dear God, Mr. Terupt needs you. Now, I don't understand teachers these days, but I've come to realize that this Mr. Terupt is a good one, and as good as they come. I've seen how he has touched my granddaughter and her friends. He's special. You don't need him up there yet, so you make sure you give him back to us real soon. Amen. Grandma had understood the important stuff. Her prayer made me feel better. I always feel better with Grandma on my side, even when she's telling God what to do. Thank you, Grandma, I said. I love you. I love you, sweetie. I will keep praying for him. I stayed in my winter slumber even after Grandma's prayer. But then, unexpectedly, I startled awake. Not because of encouraging signs from Mr. Terupt, but because of Anna's shocking news. Anna. I pumped my legs back and forth on the swings. I needed to get some momentum going so that I wasn't just sitting with my feet dangling in the puddle below me. Danielle, Jessica, and Lexi sat on the swings too, Danielle right next to me. It was nice to be outside for recess again, now that the snow was gone. Charlie was at my house when I got home from school yesterday, I said. Danielle's pumping stopped. Mom told me they were just sharing a cup of coffee and some conversation. Ooh. Danielle pumped slowly again, but she still didn't say anything. If Charlie marries my mom, that would make us, I went on, sisters. Danielle put her feet down and hopped off her swing. She turned to face me. My pumping slowed. Was something wrong? She looked right at me. Anna, Charlie would never marry your mother, Danielle said. My family would never allow it. I stopped my swing. Jessica and Lexi stopped theirs too. Why? I asked. My family, Danielle started to say, and then her chin and her voice lowered. My family doesn't approve of your mother. I felt like I had just got run over by Charlie's red truck. My whole body grew weak. But my mom's a good person, I said. I know, Danielle said. She scuffed the mud with her foot. But it's not that easy. If it weren't for Mr. Terupt's accident, I don't think I would have ever been allowed to go over to your house. I've learned something that day. Even after all this time, my mom was still ostracized for something that happened long ago. And because I had contributed to Mr. Terupt's accident, I was going to pay for the rest of my life. I'm kind of proud of Danielle for being brave and telling Anna. That's kind of cool. Jessica, Act 10, Scene 2. I discovered another reason for Mr. Terupt's predicament the day that Anna and Danielle and I were on the swings. A reason bigger than simply getting Danielle over to Anna's house. That was only just a start. Just like Mr. Terupt had helped Lexi reunite with Anna, Danielle, and me, I had to wonder if maybe Mr. Terupt's accident was going to help Danielle's family accept Anna and her mother. I hope so. Jeffrey. Boring day after boring day puttered by. Life was back to normal and everything sucked. We all thought about the same thing, but never talked about it. Not everybody together. Little groups whispered here and there, but that was it. I didn't participate. Too many bad, scary memories. Then something happened to break the silence. Jessica. Act 10, Scene 3. Enter Miss Kelsey. I came up here today to share some news with all of you, she said, with a smile on her face. How could she smile at us like that? Didn't she know? James is going to be leaving school. More sad news, I thought. Great. This is wonderful for James. He's been doing so well in school. He now has a chance to join a classroom like yours in the town where he lives. We stayed quiet. I knew I was supposed to be happy for James, but I didn't feel excited about anything right now. I think everyone felt the same. Miss Kelsey started to look puzzled. She didn't understand our silence, but Miss Williams gave her an encouraging nod. The collaborative classroom would like to invite all of you to a surprise going-away party for James, Miss Kelsey went on. You've invited us to so much and done so much for us that we decided it was our turn to invite you to something. Plus, James loves you. You guys really made a difference. You're the reason that he has improved and gets to move on. We made the difference? I felt good for a second, but then I thought about how none of this would have happened if it weren't for Mr. Terupt. I couldn't feel happy about anything, not without my teacher. Jeffrey. Miss Kelsey brought us good news, and it fired me up. James is leaving, she said. How was that supposed to be good news? Everybody ended up liking, I ended up losing. Why did I even bother trying? Luke. We made our way down to the collaborative classroom. It was James's surprise going-away party. I wanted to be happy for him, but it was so difficult. Terrible/worrisome news, Mr. Terupt, plus happy party, James, does not equal happy Luke. Invasive species are organisms that are introduced into a new environment. Since they have no natural predators there, they thrive. They suck up all the resources, leaving nothing for the organisms that were there first. The native species suffer and die. Going down to the collaborative classroom, I was afraid that our whole class would act as the invasive species, sucking up all the happiness with our sour attitudes. Lucky for us, the antidote was present at the parties. The lights clicked on. "Surprise!" we yelled when James walked in. His face beamed. I automatically smiled too. And then it happened. James walked over to Peter and gave him a hug that shattered, dollar word, his shield. Everybody stopped and watched. This was the first time any of us had really looked at Peter since the accident. We had each made the choice to make him invisible, but now we saw him. James finally let go and stepped back. He looked into Peter's eyes. "Peter, not your fault. Not your fault." James' voice rose. "Peter!" now he yelled. "Not your fault. Accident! Accident!" The room was dead quiet, holding its breath. Peter began crying. I'm going to cry. Softly at first, but then he lost it. His entire body shook with each sob. I couldn't be a silent onlooker any longer. I stepped forward. "James is right, Peter," I said. "It's not all your fault. I told everyone about Mr. Terupt's early concussions and the bleeding and the looming surgery. Besides," I said, "Peter threw the snowball because of me." I cried now too. Accepting responsibility can make you do that, I guess. I hugged Peter, right there on the spot. I walked over and hugged Mr. Elmer Sneaker's nemesis. And then our crying classmates hugged us. Thank you, James. Okay. Alexia. This is per Mr. Syme's request. I shall continue reading. Isn't it weird that Peter called them retards way back when Teach first told us that they were going to get to work with them? And then it was like one of the retards that helped save Peter. We're lucky. Some people are so full of goodness. Like Jessica and Anna and Danielle. I mean, to them, I was mean to them. But now they're my friends again. I'm lucky. I was lonely without them. I bet Peter was lonely too. But none of us did anything about it until James said something. Then I felt bad for Peter. I gave him a hug. He didn't deserve to be all alone. It feels good to be nice. I like it better than being the old Lexi. I hope Teach gets to see how he helped me. Jeffrey. Things happen for a reason. Jessica told me that. I didn't hate Peter, even if I wasn't smiling on the outside. He had me laughing on the inside a lot. He just liked to have fun, and the good fun went real bad on him that day in the snow. That's all. It wasn't all his fault. James told us that. James had more courage, more good heart in him than any of us smart kids. And smart being in quotations because we know James is smart too. I don't know if James's words alone would have been enough, but then cool man Luke came to the rescue. Not just Peter's rescue, but all of our rescue. We needed to talk. Thanks to James and Luke, we started to. Things happen for a reason. I can't find all the reasons. Did everything we did with the collaborative classroom lean toward this moment? Is this why it all happened? Why did it have to be Peter? And why did it have to be our teacher in a coma? Was it so that I would learn that life isn't fair sometimes? Because I learned a long time ago with Michael. All right, guys, I am going to stop there so the video won't cut off. So, lots and lots and lots of goodness in this section. We do have a couple more people before we get to May, so that was almost the whole chapter. I hope you have a beautiful Thursday. It's kind of rainy and gloomy here, but that's okay. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Tell me your favorite part of today's reading. What touched your heart the most? Because there was a lot of good stuff in there.